Hey there friends, this is Chris from McPaw Kitchen. Today we are going to be doing a little Hippocras, or a spiced medieval wine if you will, considered similar to a sangria or a mulled wine. The recipe I have is from a book, The Forme of Cury, this guy right here. Basically it is a book of ancient medieval recipes from about the recipe I have for this wine is from the late 1300s, about 1386, I believe. Essentially, it is a heated wine that we are going to add a bunch of spices to. The reason for this, people think maybe you did it for medicinal purposes. Spices could help you live a healthier life, or often they use table wine, which wasn't that great, so it made it taste better, or just in general because it was delicious. Anyway, let's see what we're working with here. All right, so we have a half gallon of burgundy wine. It's a very basic, simple red table wine. 1 cup of dark brown sugar. I decided with brown sugar because I think it's gonna grow the flavors a little bit better. Go into our spices. We have 4 cinnamon sticks. We have 1 whole nutmeg. We have about a teaspoon of cloves, about 7 cardamom pods. You can see the pods are right here. Split them open to pull the seeds out. And then we move into about a teaspoon of grains of paradise. Grains of paradise is a kind of rare spice. Has kind of a peppery citrus flavor to it. We have a 1/4 teaspoon of powdered galingal root. Usually I'd use more if it was whole, but I can only find the powdered version. Also harder to find is in the ginger family, has a little bit more spice and citrus to it as well. And then we move into about 10 slices of fresh ginger. So I'm obviously not in our medieval camp kitchen today. I'm working from home, but still working on a medieval recipe. So basic plan is we're going to add wine to our pot here. And then we're going to add the sugar in there as well, bring that just to a simmer, enough to make the sugar kind of dissolve into it, take it off the heat and go from there. So let's get this heating up. Not too hot, we just need it to come to a simmer. And let's add the brown sugar in. Boom, there we go, perfect. And give that a little stir. Basically, we just want the sugar to dissolve into the wine. If you were to use a sweeter red wine, you may not need to use sugar. I found multiple recipes for this, some calling for sugar, some not. It was also an ingredient that wasn't always mentioned. It is kind of a known thing in the medieval period, so not every recipe may call for it. The wine I have is a burgundy. It is a little bit on the acidic side, so I figure I'd add some sugar to it. So give that a stir here. Again, don't want to get too hot, but I'm gonna let that sit for a minute and simmer while we work on our spices. And yes, I am drinking some of the burgundy wine as well because I don't want to go to waste. And Alta Brown always says if you're gonna cook with something, you should drink it as well. So basically we have to infuse these spices into the wine for about at least a day. A little bit longer is fine as well, but you want at least a whole day. So I'm gonna break them up a little bit just to kind of get some of the flavors out with a good old mortar and pestle here. So cinnamon, let's do cinnamon by itself because those are a little bit bigger. All right, guys, so I got the cinnamon and the nutmeg already in our bottle. We're gonna let everything infuse. Gonna go ahead and throw the ginger in there as well. Cardamom pods and our galingal root. So in the pestle here with the mortar, I have a little bit of our cloves and our grains of paradise. Gonna kind of break these up a little bit. See what happens. Kind of hard to do with one hand, but here we go. Alright, so we got all of our spices, all of our good flavors in the jar here we're going to infuse with. The wine and sugar combo is still simmering a little bit. So with the spices, I put them straight in the jar to infuse. If you want to, you could put them in a cloth bag, like a tea bag, something like this, a tea infuser. I plan to strain it through cheesecloth and a mesh strainer tomorrow, so I think that should be fine to get all the little bits out, because nothing's too fine besides the galingal powder, which should dissolve and mix in well enough anyway. But either way would work just fine. So we're gonna wait a little bit for the wine to simmer a little bit longer, and then we'll basically pour that on top of our spice in the bottle, seal it up, let it sit for about 24 hours, and that's it. Alright guys, well, there we have it. That is our Hippocras. Got everything in the bottle here. Just give it a little stir. I'm not going to seal it up quite yet. It is pretty hot. Now let it cool down before I put the lid on. Obviously in medieval times we would not have mason jars to use per se. You'd put it in a large pot with a lid and just let it set at room temperature for about a day or two, and then serve it. I would serve usually room temperature or warm, unlike sangria, which is served usually chilled and has fruit in it. It's also kind of like the forefather to mulled wine, if you will. Mulled wine again usually has citrus in it as well, but very similar idea, a warm holiday type of sweetened wine, spiced beverage. So like I said, I'm gonna let this sit overnight, strain it out tomorrow night, and serve it up, and hopefully it's delicious. It smells amazing. Hopefully it tastes amazing too.